If you're like me and you've been obsessed with the Knives Out series and the latest installment, Glass Onion, and you're looking for more of that in your books, you want to be reading clue-like mysteries with a puzzle to detangle, stay tuned because I have 5 recommendations for you today on books that feel like Glass Onion. We can all agree that when Knives Out first came out in 2019, it started this resurgence of the murder mystery genre. We're seeing it more in films, we're seeing it more in books, and we're often seeing books even using Knives Out as a comp title just to capture this murder mystery element and this clue-like mystery that you're trying to solve. I loved the original Knives Out movie. I love murder mysteries and trying to piece the puzzle together. And now we have a new film out in the series, Glass Onion. This is the second film in the Knives Out series that is written and directed by Rian Johnson. Returning in Glass Onion is Detective Benoit Blanc, who we got to know and love in the first Knives Out movie. In this story, a tech billionaire named Miles Braun is inviting his friends for a getaway on his private Greek island, and Benoit Blanc ends up being invited as a guest as well. Soon after arriving, someone turns up dead and Detective Benoit Blanc is put on the case. This movie had a lot to live up to with Knives Out being as good as it is, but I really loved Glass Onion too. I feel like it brought some new things to the series. It really took advantage of current times set in the COVID-19 pandemic. It let us watch a bunch of rich people come together and be messy, and I love that. So if you do too and you're looking for some books that capture that same feeling, I have 5 recommendations today. We're going to be counting down to my number 1 recommendation for the book that I would recommend if you enjoyed Glass Onion and you're looking to read some books like that. In my number 5 position, I have Good Rich People by Eliza Jane Brazier. This one is particularly good for you if you really like the element of watching wealthy people playing games with each other, hiding secrets, and having an explosive ending. In this story, you're following a wealthy couple, Lila and Graham, who like to play games with people. They invite people with self-made success stories to come live in their guest house, and then they pretty much try to ruin their lives. But their latest guest is not who they were expecting. She has an interesting past, and she may ruin their game once and for all. This is in my number 5 spot because it isn't totally that murder mystery feel of Glass Onion, but if you particularly like this element and you're looking for reading stories about wealthy people, this is more of a cat and mouse game with some social commentary behind it. But this is dark, it's twisty, it's fun, and like I said, it does really have a great ending. In my number 4 spot, we have The Maid by Nita Prose. This one definitely has that clue-like mystery feel to it. You're following a hotel maid named Molly, who is a character you will absolutely fall in love with along the way. She's very different from Detective Benoit Blanc because she is just your average citizen. She is a maid, she does not have detective training, but she gets put in this position to put her detective skills to use when one day she is cleaning the suite of a wealthy guest. She often goes and cleans the suite, and when she goes in, she finds him dead on the bed. She quickly becomes the lead suspect in his murder, and she has to defend her name and try to gather allies in the hotel and figure out what happened to this wealthy man to clear her own name. Like Glass Onion, this one has a contained mystery where you have a clear set of characters who all seem like they could be involved in some way. You have the murder mystery element, and you have an absolutely charming character to fall in love with along the way. In my number 3 spot is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. In this story, you're following a group of characters who is going off to this remote island for a wedding. Soon a storm hits and they get stuck on the island and someone ends up dead. As the reader, you don't know who ended up dead or who did the killing, and you get to try to piece together the clues to solve the mystery. If you like the setup of Glass Onion with them being on an island and being in this isolated setting, but also having a large cast of characters who all has something to hide and they all have a motive and they all have the opportunity and it seems like it could really be anyone, then I think you're also really going to enjoy The Guest List. It has all of those wonderful things about it, and it's just a really fun, fast-paced read. I'll also mention as a slight bonus, The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley, in case maybe you've already read The Guest List and you haven't heard of this one. This is Lucy Foley's latest book, and it follows this woman who is going to visit her brother in his Paris apartment, but when she shows up, he has gone missing. She starts asking people in the building about her brother, if they have any idea where he could be, and everybody starts to seem suspicious and she doesn't know who she can trust. I personally enjoyed The Guest List more, and I think it is a better fit for Glass Onion, but I did want to mention this as a little bonus rec as well. In my number 2 spot is Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. This is another fun island story where you're following these 6 people who all end up going to this remote island together. They're all kind of coming with their own secrets, their own backstories, some of them even with their own motives, and you get to spend time with them, getting to know them, seeing their experience on the island, building this tension as you start to wonder what's going to go wrong, and then someone ends up going missing and someone ends up dead, and it's just a whole big mess. Again, if you like following a large cast of characters who have a lot of messy drama together, this one's going to be a really fun one for you. It also does a really fun job building up a lot of suspense and tension along the way, way before the crazy things start happening. So it is a little bit more of a slow burn. It doesn't begin with a murder that you're trying to solve. It builds up to that. But I thought it was a lot of fun getting to know these characters, getting to understand their dynamics. And it reminds me of how in Glass Onion, you have all of this group of friends who have these different connection points and you don't really know whose perspectives to trust. And finally, in my number one spot, I have Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This is by far my number one recommendation for people who love Glass Onion and are looking to read a book that has that same feeling around it. One of my favorite parts of Glass Onion was the beginning, as Miles is sending out these puzzle boxes to everyone he is inviting to the island, and they have to solve the puzzle boxes to even get the invitation before they're all coming to the island. I thought it was really fun just to get to know the characters in that way, to see how they would solve the puzzle boxes, and it also just set this really fun game-like tone to the story because there's already this game element to it. And then once he brings them to the island, he tells them they're going to be playing out this murder mystery party too, and I just loved how it felt so meticulously orchestrated in this weird way where you weren't really sure what was going to happen and how things could have been arranged. Daisy Darker has a really fun setup like that as well. You're following this family who is gathering back on this island for the grandmother's 80th birthday. She lives in this gothic house on this isolated island, and when the tide comes in, you end up getting stuck out there for 8 hours. So you know when you visit, you're going to be trapped there for a bit. And the family members who are arriving all have secrets from one another as well. Soon after they arrive, the grandmother ends up dead, and then they find this nursery rhyme written on the wall that has lines about all of the different family members. They start finding tapes around the house that say "play me," and they're getting all of these clues leading up to what's happening, and people keep going missing / dropping dead. It is so much fun, and I feel like it is the best tie to Glass Onion. So again, if you're looking for something really similar, I would definitely recommend this. This was also very clearly inspired by And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which I would also recommend picking up if you haven't read yet and you're looking for a similar classic murder mystery feel. I mean, that is a classic murder mystery, so if you haven't read And Then There Were None yet, I would definitely recommend that one too. But if you're looking for something a bit more modern, I would definitely recommend Daisy Darker. So those are my top 5 recommendations. Let me know down in the comments below if you plan on picking any of these books up, and also let me know if you have any other similar recommendations for books that feel like Glass Onion that either myself can pick up or anyone in the comments who's looking for some more options. Also, let me know while you're down there if there are any other movies you would like to see me do similar recommendation style lists to. I definitely want to do more of these in the future, and I'd love to know what you all would like to see. But that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!